And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Thursday, June 20th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is GSMCPodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is GSMCPodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. So with that being said, let's get into what we are going to talk about for today. So we're going to start off the show, talk about the quarterbacks in the first segment. Some owners have this proposal about having an alternate salary cap on quarterbacks and their salaries. So we'll go over that. I'll give you my thoughts on it. And then in the second part of the show, we will continue our schedule breakdowns today. I will be doing the Cincinnati Bengals schedule. Then in the third part of the show, I'll talk about Tom Brady, some recent comments just on, his new role with Fox. I'll get into that. And just some other comments about Bill Belichick as well. And then in the fourth part of the show, we'll talk about some quarterback contracts that teams could possibly regret, and they might not end up working out. And I'll give you my thoughts on that as well. And then in the final part of the show, I'll talk about a little bit of beef that's going on, a little bit of a feud between Trayvon Diggs of the Dallas Cowboys and Malik Neighbors of the New York Giants. So we'll get into that as well to conclude the show. So let's get into the first topic, which is talking about quarterback salaries and an idea that some owners have to kind of, work through this, I guess. I don't really know how to put it, but quarterback, we know quarterback salaries have been increasing. And you look at some of the deals that have been made, and some of them, you kind of scratch your head a little bit. But you understand because, again, with quarterbacks, there's going to be overpays. But some owners have discussed the idea of capping quarterback salaries to prevent them from exceeding a certain percentage of the team's salary cap. And this was brought up by Tom Pelissero on the Rich Eisen show. And this is what he had to say. And this was on Tuesday. He said, there has certainly been discussion within the league among certain owners about even the idea of a quarterback cap, that at some point you don't want quarterback numbers to go over a certain percentage of your salary cap. To my knowledge, that hasn't really gained traction, in part because so many teams have paid their quarterbacks. And I think that's the only quote in the article that I have here from that. So I understand where some teams are coming from with that idea, because it really has gotten to the point where it's, ridiculous how much money these quarterbacks are making. Now, some quarterbacks do deserve it more than others. Now, I do think the quarterbacks that have gotten paid, they do deserve to get paid. But at the money that they're getting paid for, it's in my opinion, it's too much. But this idea, I guess this is something they maybe should have thought of many years ago. However, they probably didn't realize that quarterbacks would be making this kind of money right now. So this idea is kind of, all for nothing, because teams have already paid their quarterback, a lot of money. Trevor Lawrence is making $55 million a year now. The Jags would be a team that could use that. The Dolphins, they're going to be a team that's going to pay Tua a lot of money. But I don't think they're looking to try to pay him a $55 million contract. I talked about it yesterday. Because, when you give your quarterback a big contract like that, it does kind of put you in a predicament where you can't bring back some of your other guys at other key positions. and you're going to have to look to the draft and start over at certain positions. And one team that is going to have to pay their quarterback at some point is the 49ers. Look at all the players that they have to pay. And when they pay Brock Purdy, they're going to lose a lot of these guys because they're just not going to be able to keep everybody. They haven't paid Brandon Ayuk yet, and it seems like he could be on his way out. But now, if you pay Brock Purdy that kind of contract, well, you're going to lose guys on defense, on the offensive side of the ball. It's going to be a problem. Now, the 49ers are a well-run organization where, they could work around it, and they could find more talent. But you're losing good players then. Now, there's other ways of working around these big quarterback contracts. You can move, funds around, kind of like what the Cowboys did with Dak. We've seen that. And quarterbacks could take pay cuts as well. Because, a guy we're going to talk about later in the show, Tom Brady, he was always taking pay cuts so he could keep guys so they can continue to win. So there's ways to work around these big contracts. Now, eventually, it's all going to add up, and you're going to have to pay, the money to these guys. But I do understand where this is coming from because, again, quarterbacks are getting paid a lot of money, and they really take up a large chunk of teams' salary caps. So, and there's other quarterbacks that are going to be looking to get paid. Like I said, Tua Tagovailoa is going to be getting a new deal at some point. Brock Purdy's going to get a new deal. And even before that, Jordan Love. They're looking to get a deal done before training camp. So, and it's going to take up a big chunk of the salary cap. But like I said, there's ways to work around it. And listen, I mean, this goes for pretty much every sport, but, the owners, they enabled all this because they're the ones that give the contract. And because you do that, you reset the market, other guys want to get paid the same amount of money, and then it just keeps going up and up and up and up, and here we are now, and now these quarterbacks are getting paid $50+ million, and at some point $60+ million. I think I saw something yesterday. I think was it Mike? It might have been Mike Florio talking about like C.J. Stroud's contract. Someone was talking about it. It could be like a $70-80 million contract for a quarterback, which is the most important position in the NFL. We understand that. But that's a lot of money. And it's going to be harder on teams, like I said, to keep guys at other positions. The quarterback is the most important position, but you still have to have a team around the quarterback. Because if you don't have an offensive line that can block, quarterback's really not going to be able to do anything. So it's an interesting conversation, but yeah, it doesn't seem like it's going to go anywhere, especially because teams just paid their quarterbacks, and there's going to be more quarterbacks that are going to be getting paid down the line. So, but it is interesting though that this was an idea, but this should have been something that if they would have thought about this years ago, then maybe that would have gained some traction, but I think it's too little, too late. But again, that has to be something that gets, passed through, and it might have not have been able to. So, but yeah, it is, like I said, it is a little ridiculous how much money some of these quarterbacks are getting paid. like I said, they deserve to get paid. I have no problem with that. But at the money that they're getting, when some of these guys, they still kind of need to prove themselves a little bit. Yeah, that's kind of where I have an issue. But for the most part, you're always going to be overpaying for a quarterback because again, it's the most important position. So, like Trevor Lawrence, I still have confidence that Trevor Lawrence is going to be really good, but he's not coming off of a great year. We haven't really seen him live up to his expectations just yet. But getting $55 million a year, and it's the same money as Joe Burrow, at least per year, with the guy that's been to 2 AFC Championship games and a Super Bowl appearance. Yeah, I don't agree with that, but that's just me. So that's my thoughts on it. What do you guys think? Would that be a good idea if this did gain momentum and it had a chance to, become a thing? Quarterback salaries be on a cap. Let me know. Because quarterbacks are always going to make the most money. But it doesn't seem like that's going to end up happening. Because again, quarterbacks already got paid. So, but let me know what you guys think about that idea. Is it a good idea? Is it not a good idea? Let me know. Either way, probably not going to see it happen. But I just thought it was something interesting that I saw that I wanted to talk about. So, yeah, that's pretty much it on that topic. So, we did bring up Joe Burrow briefly. So, we're going to take our first break of the show. And then when we come back, we will discuss the Cincinnati Bengals schedule. I'll give you my early win-loss predictions for them. And that is what we will do when we come back from our first break of the show. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.